Judge Engoron sent some very interesting photographs in a newsletter, 2 newsletters exactly, that went out to an alumni network. And one of those photos, Judge Engoron himself called a bonus torso photo. Now, it's not a fitness newsletter where he's sending trainer photography of what his performance looks like in the gym, but he is posting some updates, and he shared this photograph and others. And the source for all this information is our friends over at MarcoPoloUSA.org. But it's curious because the photos are a little bit strange, right? We got some judicial nipples, and we're doing our best here to censor these things. But the reason why this stuff is important is because this is a judge, and of course you don't want judges to engage in voyeurism by spreading their almost genitals around. We're going to see where he held the phone, where he took a photograph of himself and then spammed it out to everybody. And really, it's kind of a non sequitur. Why do we have these photos there? But okay, it's just the judge plus Letitia James. She's out there, male, pale, and stale. And these two are 2 elected Democrats who are really in control of Trump's entire business and his entire fortune, right? All of the things that he's worked hard for the last 50 years are now in the hands of these 2 people, BonusTorsoPhoto guy and Letitia, male, pale, and stale James. Are you serious right now? So we're going to go through this. We are unfortunately going to have to go through some of these photographs. Just to be clear, we have the newsletters where he put the photos in so you can see the context, where they came from. And then we'll finish up with Alina Habba, who's going to explain what this judge did in the courtroom, okay? What this type of conduct looks like when it's on display. And so for a little backstory, of course, original source is MarcoPoloUSA.org, but we saw this over on the X platform from Colin Rugg, who's also referencing Marco Polo. He says, look, the judge presiding over the Trump trial appears to have a peculiar hobby of posting half-naked photos of himself on a high school alumni newsletter that he controls, right? It's his, and he sends it out, so he gets to put what's in there. Nobody else approved this editorial decision to put judicial nipples on the entire display for the entire high school alumni network, for crying out loud. 74-year-old judge appeared to even post a bonus torso photo in what looks like to be the bathroom of the gym. Now, one of the set of images seems to be progress pictures. And by the way, I'm all in favor of lifting weights, of course, and I think everybody should lift weights, including Judge Engoron, even though, he's wrecking the country with his reckless judicial proceedings. But everybody should be lifting weights, and I'm in favor of progress pics, by the way, but they should go to your trainer, or to somebody in your physical space, unless you're a fitness influencer, or unless you're somebody who's sending it to a friend and your accountability buddy or something like that. It's generally not appropriate for judges to do that, generally speaking. But let's see, you can be the judge of this. I'll let you reserve judgment and come to your own conclusions. Now, one set of the images seems to be progress pictures. Another picture shows the same body flexing excessively to show off his muscle gains. Now, Judge Arthur Engoron, as we can see here, is the editor of the Wheatley School Alumni Association newsletter, according to the post on the website. Colin says the man is not well. Now, if you scroll down there, you're going to see some judicial nipples. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to try to censor this out, all right? So I'm going to try to spare all of our eyeballs a little bit. And here is what I've done. I spent all afternoon working hard on this, so hopefully our eyeballs are saved. This is what he saw, okay? Before and after photos. Got the whole chest redacted here. This is what he wrote in the actual articles, all right? So the Wheatley School alumni, this is him, okay? This is his send-off. Art Engoron at his Gmail, and he's got these 2 photos, okay? Before and after. This one's October, this one's August 2021. And you can see it. And then he's got this other photograph with him and this other dude, and they're at the gym, which I support, by the way. Totally support the gym. And, he's looking like he's got some vascularity going on in his right bicep. He doesn't look bad. Kind of puffing up a little bit. That's okay. But if you go over here, now what you'll notice is that these photos are definitely him. Okay, so this photograph here, we've got the judicial nipples redacted here with Tishy. But look at this cell phone, okay, where this is being held, okay? Look at this cell phone. That's like, genital area. This is not really appropriate for a judge, man. That judge is naked in there. Yes, you are. And he's got, you can see, a little skin there, and he's like naked, like taking photographs of himself in the gym and then sending that stuff out to his alumni network. Now, you might be saying, Rob, maybe are they talking about fitness? Are they talking about health and wellness? Are they talking about TRT? Are they talking about peptides or HGH? What are they talking about? Maybe it's relevant. Maybe it's an alumni network. Maybe, I don't know. So you see that. Now we're also referencing, so what they did is they took this photo just to make sure that this is the judge, right? With his, just barely above the wiener photograph phone held there. So they're matching the photos, right? They're matching the judge's bicep over here with this bicep. And yeah, he looks like he put on a little bit of vascularity there. Not too bad. Yeah, not too bad there. That's good, Judge. And, you should be working on it. Now, we're going to come back to that one. Now, I wanted to share because it definitely looks like it's him, right? I mean, it's definitely him. There's no question about it. And so I wanted to show you the actual newsletters, okay? The newsletters here. Newsletter number 51, all right? right, this is the actual newsletter that goes out. So again, right, if this is a fitness magazine, if this is an influencer magazine, if there's something related to this, then okay. But this is newsletter number 51. He says, Dear Wheatley Wildcats, and again, this is being written by the judge. Public service announcements, class of 1969, and he said we had 2 guest attendees, Art Engoron, so he's talking about himself. He's the editor of the Wheatley School Alumni Association. He helped kick off the event, and the show began, the feedback, some attendee comments. Everybody's very happy. Great job, guys. You guys did an amazing job. There was also a Zoom meeting that took place. You can see this is the newsletter that's going out to everybody. So all these people are on the Zoom, and they're all hanging out. They're saying a savior for the Hildebrands. Oh, you know, whatever that story is. Wheatley football seems like a good thing. Maybe the photos are related to football. I don't know. The usual words of wisdom. So somebody wrote this one. Thanks to our fabulous webmaster. You guys are doing great stuff. He talks about the faculty. Robert Brandt, a scholar, and Steve Finkelstein's great. Hey, a graduate. Bruce Richardson. So it's just kind of like memory, right? Just going down memory lane. Wow. Memory to this person. Stuart Fox, deceased. Rest in peace, man. And they're writing, you know, little updates here. If you want to leave a message for him, you certainly can. John Sullivan's there. Here's another person. You know, so it's just kind of like a nice tribute to all these people. Jeff's there with his wife. What a nice couple. Now, he's an architect. Amazing. So 1966, right? We're going down the news. Oh, Art Engoron is including some of his work in here. Hey, look what I've done. Trump subpoena court documents. Eric Trump must give a deposition before the election judge. New York Times, Eric Trump investigation election. Oh, this is curious. So he's saying, hey, look at me. Look what I'm doing. Okay, so these are highlights. Art Engoron, the judge. 1967, and this guy, you know, he was in a hospital, so it's an update from Jay. These are all updates on the people. And Art is prosecuting Trump. Judge voids a city permit. Controversial Upper West Side location, luxury mega tower. Copy of decisions available upon request. And so the judge is like proud of it, right? Hey, guys, look what I'm doing here. Take a look at me. Now, then we've got tributes and some other things coming in. This one's from Gerald. Roger's got an update. And he's working at Gimbel and Associates or something. And they have an update from them. Now, see, we're just going through these updates. Now, we already had an Art Engoron update, okay, just to be clear, didn't we? He already said that he's subpoenaing Donald Trump and he's wrecking everything. But now the question is, what else do we have updates about? And then here's the latest. 2006, Mark Rosen has an update. He writes, Dear Art Engoron, thank you for inviting me to do this mini bio. It's been 14 years since I've been through Wheatley, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all these updates, very nice. And he says down here, look what just pops out of nowhere. Bonus torso photo, man. We're just scrolling down and there it is. It's the bonus torso photo. And I think if we continue to scroll, yeah, we're going to get some nips in there, some judicial nips. So what we're going to do, right? And this is the non sequitur. Like, what the heck? What the heck is all this? And then there's a bonus torso photo. And then when you keep scrolling down, here's what you get, right? That's the rest of the judge. That's in the newsletter. And then he finishes it up. Fan mail, coronavirus thoughts, and a few other email addresses. Bonus torso photo. Here's the rest of the emails. Here's the rest of the newsletter. Signed off on by Arthur Friedrichs Engoron. What on earth? And this is another one. And this one was also archived. And so this is sometime later. The usual words of wisdom. Wheatley's greatness through the ages, right? He's sending another thing. Graduation speech, Pledge of Allegiance, other updates on graduates. You can see this one's a little bit shorter. Class of students whose last name started with E through G. List them all out here. More updates from some other people. Linda's got an update. Man in the news. Oh, what's this? A man in the news. Judge Engoron's very thrilled about this. Look what he's sending to his listserv in addition to judicial nipples. He says, Washington Post, Trump Organization records Attorney General James. Wall Street Journal, Trump Organization must comply with New York State subpoenas. The judge rules. Trump Organization warned by the judge to comply with the New York subpoenas. Trump Organization and taxes in New York. What did a judge just order top leadership in the Trump Organization to do? This judge is just like giddy with himself. Like this is like his little, blog. He's very excited with his efforts. This is Judge Engoron with his band of brothers, and the letter goes out. Looks like Judge Engoron is teaching Art the moves or something. And then there's just more updates on this thing. And then we're going to get to another one, a classic reunion picture, more updates. And then there it comes again, man. Before and after photos of the judge. And there it is, right? I totally endorse physical fitness. I just don't endorse judges sending their nipples to their captive listserv. That's a little strange. But this whole case is strange. And of course, Judge Engoron is not the only person who is involved in the strangeness, or let's say this, it's worse than strange. It is very problematic what they're doing. But we're going to hear from Andy McCarthy, who explains that these are two Democrats that have been involved in this, like in this weaponized prosecution of Trump. And this was a clip that Alina mentioned earlier in her testimony, or in her interview with the media yesterday, said that they dug this up. Letitia, the same woman who has facial spasms when she says illegitimate president, referring to Donald Trump, she was saying that Trump and his administration, and I guess white people, are white, pale, and stale.
This together now. And so we've got to stand up to the federal government. We've got to stand up to bullies. We've got to stand up to an administration which is too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. Too male, too pale, and too stale. And we will not go away silently. We will not be silent in the face of this oppression. We will not.
She will not be silent. It's very annoying. She just talks a lot, doesn't really do much of anything other than hand off the case to her other people who do the actual prosecution of it. But she's a figurehead, and it's just amazing how you have this literal racism coming out of these people's mouths. Male and pale and stale. What the heck is that, man? It's actual racism. Okay, I don't know what she's talking about, but male and pale and stale, and then the whole crowd just stands around and chants with her. It's unbelievable. But she is the prosecutor, okay? She's the person, along with this guy, who are deciding the fate of billion-dollar companies like Donald Trump's. So it's wild. Now, Andy McCarthy brought up a good point. Of course, he says this is all about as partisan as you can consider, and it's something that Trump posted, right? Trump posted this on Truth. He said this. Andy McCarthy says this whole justice system is fraudulent in the sense that these are elected Democrats. Here's McCarthy.
I think, first of all, this whole New York justice system, Bill, is fraudulent in the sense that these are elected Democrats. She is an elected Democrat, as you point out, campaigned for office on a vow that she would use the power of the state to get him, which is a kind of a Soviet way of going about your business. The judge is an elected Democrat. So the whole system is not like what we have in the federal system, where you have appointed prosecutors and appointed judges who are vetted by the Senate, at least in the hope that it will ensure that they won't use their power in an abusive way. In this system, they're actually electing people on a promise of going after individuals who happen to be their political enemies. So that should be troubling enough. But the other thing is, just in terms of like a sort of Eighth Amendment punishment principle, where you have in this case a situation where the penalty they're talking about is so out of whack with the infraction that it ought to back everybody up. I mean, if you want to tell me that maybe they should fine Trump $1 million because he inflated his assets, you know, it wouldn't be my way of doing a system, but fine. That's not what they're talking about here. They're talking about in a case where you have no victims of fraud, disgorging him of $250 million or more of profits and putting him out of business under circumstances where there's not a single person or a single entity that actually got defrauded here.
Gross behavior, not only from the judge and Tishy, but the entire organization there in New York, right? Everybody who's involved is all going along with this giant scam. And so that is Andy McCarthy, who is, I think, making a good point that the whole thing is illegitimate. They're elected. They don't really care about what happens because they only are answerable to the electorate. And in New York, it is overwhelmingly Democrat. So as long as they just do what they're ordered to do, justice be damned. They're just going to run for re-election. Tishy is getting more exposure now than ever. And she goes out every day in front of the court steps and makes her statements. And she's very pleased with herself. And so to cleanse the palate, to add a little bleach into our eyeballs, to clear out the judicial nipple problem that we just had to endure, we got Alina. She showed up on Fox Business and she got asked some questions about this.
That this judge won't let.
Honestly, none of the above. What would happen was they would show him 2 paragraphs on the screen. They would say, okay, here's 2 paragraphs on the screen. Mr. President, did you certify to this? And he would say, well, the 2 paragraphs discuss insurance, they discuss value, and they discuss how I can rent certain property, 40 Wall Street, for instance. Let me explain. First, let me hit the value. First, let me hit the insurance. Let me hit this. Let me hit that. And he would go into explaining to them that maybe you have a loan document that says that I have to have a net worth of $50 million. Basic. Okay. But there's certain provisions there with step downs and things like that. It's not that simple. If I have to be absolutely honest with you, Larry, I think that they really should have thought about the legal team questioning somebody who is a real estate tycoon, a real estate mogul, is going to go down as one of the greats.
Spent his whole life.
They don't get it, and they're trying to attack and criticize somebody. You better be an expert to try and come after him.
That was the same point we made yesterday. Trump was just kind of playing with them. And he said, I can just look at a building and tell you. And I actually believe that, right? Because I know that I can look at a criminal case and be pretty close to how it's going to turn out at the end of the day, right? Because you do enough of it, you just get a second sense about it. And so, right, that doesn't mean Trump's making it up, but he can justify all of that, right? That sense comes from something. And he was communicating that way even through the X transcripts that we were reading yesterday.
See, look, as somebody who knows him rather well, he's trying to explain what I'm going to call the science of real estate.
That's right.
The accounting of real estate, the economics of real estate, okay? And he knows it very well. You might disagree with some of it, but he knows it very well.
That's right.
And this judge, as I understand it, will not let him finish these paragraphs.
No.
I think this showed up. You were on, your presser was during Sandra and Smith and John Roberts. Has a president ever testified like this in court?
No.
Never.
It's a disgrace.
So they won't give him the grace to do that.
It's really, they're cutting him off, and I objected, and there was a fiery exchange with the judge. Yeah. Frankly, I can't even say it was with the judge and I. I'm very polite. I'm very professional when I'm in the courtroom. But the judge did not like him finishing or explaining because it wasn't good for their case, and he's interfering. He's made his decision. Let's not forget that, Larry. He made his decision on summary judgment. He found liability already. So now we're wasting taxpayer dollars for months and months and months. $450,000 for an expert the AG paid. Yeah. Taxpayer dollars, those New York taxpayer dollars. We're wasting all this time, and he won't even let the president, who's the person they're trying to get to, explain why he's certified to certain values. Why? Because the minute he starts to explain it, it ruins their case. He was worth more than his statement of financial condition. And Miss James, her politics, are not allowing her now to backtrack. She needs a PR team, I'm telling you. She
looks like a damn fool.
Yeah.
But putting that aside, I mean, it's the same story with the Mar-a-Lago property in Palm Beach. Every realtor is laughing at the tax assessor's assessment, which you and I talked about a month ago. Every realtor knows what Trump is talking about in this courtroom. The guy that doesn't know what he's talking about is a politically biased left-wing judge who won't let the 45th president make his case.
Who sends nipple photos to his alumni network, 2 of them, 2 newsletters.
Is one of the worst parts of this whole story. You call a trial, you make these charges, the president, who doesn't have to, comes in? Really? I mean, you could do it just as well, but he came in and they won't let him finish his paragraph?
Not only that, Larry, in the beginning, and this isn't going to be reported, but in the beginning, the judge kept trying to say, if you do it again, I'm just going to tell you to leave and I'm going to have a negative inference. First of all, you can't really do that. But he was trying to find a reason because he was panicked. This is an elected official. The judge is an elected official. Letitia James is an elected official. We can't have elected officials who need to be bipartisan, who need to be on the side of their democratic thinking, their left-wing, radical left thinking. We can't have people like that on the bench, and then we sit here and can't put our case up. It doesn't make sense.
You know, I know there are a lot of left-wing judges in New York. I get that. But there are also some good judges.
There are.
There's a court of appeals in this state. There's an appellate court, all that stuff. You have the New York Bar Association. I know it leans left, but they're not crazy people.
No.
There are a lot of wonderful law firms. Law firms, by the way, whose chief officers are Republicans, believe it or not. So I'm waiting for people to start speaking out regarding the injustice of the way this judge is treating the 45th president.
Me
you see
too,
my
Larry.
point?
I do.
Somebody has to stop the circus and say, this guy, what's his name, the name of the judge?
Judge Engoron.
He is a bad apple, and we don't want to stand behind him because he's making all of us in New York look bad.
That's the truth.
I'm waiting for someone to do that.
That's the truth.
Ooh,
and I
Trump
think
is.
that
Trump's
Just step up.
Trump is the only one. Who else is there? Other Republicans? There is nobody else to stand up for this. Who else is there? Literally nobody. You know, the other Republicans should, don't get me wrong, all the Republicans should be circling the wagons to fortify against this, because little do they know they're next. If they don't stop this, do they think that it's going to end with Trump? If they knock Trump aside for whatever reason, and I doubt that they'll be able to do that, but it's not going to be that they're not going to try. But if they were, does DeSantis really think he's not going to come under the same scrutiny, or Nikki Haley? Or the idea is that they just play with it, right? They just play along with the charade, which is why they're not under the same type of pressure.
Up and say that. Democrat, Republican, it doesn't matter. This is ruining the legal establishment of New York. This guy's a clown, and everybody knows it. And then there's this issue.
All lawyers should. Every single lawyer should be outraged about what's happening here because it's wrecking their profession. It's wrecking the profession. How can you have justice if you have a situation like this? You can't.
What, he's got a clerk, a law clerk? You've got a mile-long list of left-wing causes she's donated to? What's up with that?
Well, I've been gagged and I'm not permitted to talk about it.
Don't say a word.
I'm not permitted to talk about it.
I want to keep you out of jail.
But I think that says it all. I'm not permitted to sit here and talk about it.
Where
I am a
is the
legal
gag
spokeswoman
order?
for the president.
He's gagging the president.
He's
gagging
me
you.
as well, yeah.
He can't gag me because I'm in journalism.
You're free to say what you want.
But really, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, you're free to talk about Judge Engoron's Greenfield, his law clerk who's passing him notes, little love notes all day. I don't know if she's massaging his neck or something. I don't know because the lawyers are gagged. They can't talk about it. So she might be giving him foot massages and helping him on his rulings. Nobody knows because the attorneys can't even talk about it because he gagged them. And then he told Chris when Chris was going to file a motion about it, file it under seal essentially, and don't file it, Chris, or something.
Crazy stuff. So, all right, what happens next?
What happens next? Well, this week we're going to finish. They're going to rest their case. We are obviously going to move to completely dismiss this case. There should be a mistrial based on some of the things you mentioned today that I can't talk about. There should be a mistrial here. Bias in general, I'll say, there is judicial code of ethics. Those ethics extend to the entire courtroom. And when you violate the rules of judicial ethics, there need to be certain things that hold you accountable. Your license, that's why there is the bar. That's why there are ethics. There needs to be rules regarding people's ability to believe in an impartial system. And I do believe it as an American. It's my mission to bring to light when there isn't that. Because not everybody's Donald Trump. Not everybody can pay for a team of 20 lawyers.
Exactly.
And if we don't stop it now, we're going to be in real deep trouble. I think we already, frankly, are.
Well, I think, as I said before, I think calmer heads have to prevail with respect to the New York legal system because it looks like a clown show to the rest of the world. I also think people, whatever your opinions of my former boss, the fact remains he's the 45th president. He did not have to testify in court, and he did to make a case about the economics and science of real estate. He could have given these guys a lesson if the judge had just listened.
Yeah, well, he did give them a lesson.
Judge might have, hang on a second, he might have learned something. Can you imagine a judge learning something?
You know, I would invite that judge to come see some of these properties. Go step on Mar-a-Lago. Go tell me that that's worth $18 million. I mean, it's so absurd that the country is laughing. And if he has any, self-respect, you have an opportunity to turn this around.
The whole west side of New York was changed by Donald Trump. The skyline, the whole east side of New York was changed by Donald Trump. Anyway.
Yeah.
All that history means nothing because we've got two lunatics who are in charge of Trump's entire empire. This guy who, sends nipples to his alumni, to the same guy who says that you can't even comment on his Greenfield law clerk who's passing him love notes. Letitia James, who literally ran for office on prosecuting Trump, now calling white people male, pale, and stale, right? This is the environment. And this is not what it's supposed to be like in America. When the judicial system fails, when people like this can compromise the entire process, meaning there is no more due process, it's not good. Society cannot function in that manner, which maybe is what they want. And so, I agree with Kudlow and Alina. It's a horrific situation. I wish more people in New York were speaking out. Where are the Supreme Court judges? Where are, the legislature individuals, cobbling together to respond to this? Nothing. They're all in on it. They all want it to happen because their politics are more powerful for them than their sense of justice or their sense of equality under the law. They'd rather just prosecute their political opponents, and that's how you know a society is failing. So we'll continue to cover this, my friends. Ivanka Trump is going to testify, and there will be a ruling at some point, and so we'll have closing arguments and more. We'll continue to cover this case and the rest of the Trump trials. Thank you for subscribing and covering this with us, joining us as we do, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.